Let's talk about the passing of Norma Hunt. Mahomes throwing behind the back at Kauffman Stadium over the weekend. The Chiefs organization visiting the White House today, as well as look at another reason why wide receiver Richie James was a fantastic signing by Brett Veach. But first, how about those? All right, first up, I have some very unfortunate and sad news for the kingdom, as it was announced yesterday in a statement released by the Hunt family that Norma Hunt, the wife of the late Lamar Hunt and mother of Clark Hunt, has sadly passed away at the age of 85 years old. And while the details of her passing have not been released, the First Lady of Football will certainly be missed by all of Chiefs Kingdom and the NFL world as a whole. Countless players such as Patrick Mahomes, Tyrann Mathieu, Trent Green, among many others, teams like the Broncos, Raiders, Chargers, and even Roger Goodell himself took to Twitter to offer their condolences to the Hunt family and express their love for Norma and what she meant to the game as a whole. The Hunt family also released a statement that you'll need to read in its entirety, but here's one paragraph that shows just a glimpse of how special and important Norma was. The Hunt said Mom was steadfastly devoted to her family and fiercely passionate about her family sports teams. She was by our father Lamar's side every step of the way, from the merger of the AFL and the NFL to the formation of Major League Soccer, World Championship Tennis, the North American Soccer League, and their founding investment in the Chicago Bulls. She was the only person we knew who rivaled his love for sports. And if you didn't know, Norma was the only woman to ever attend every single Super Bowl, attending her 57th and final one this past February, and was able to watch her beloved Chiefs hoist the Lombardi for the third time. But sadly, it was her last, yet it was a great conclusion to a life well lived by Norma Hunt. Okay, next up is a bit of a switch of gears here, to say the least, because we got to talk about the most dangerous criminal since Al Capone and Pablo Escobar. No, not Jack the Ripper, not Jeffrey Dahmer. I'm talking about Chiefsaholic. All right, that intro was extremely dramatic, to say the least. However, the superfan turned bank robber just landed on KC Crime Stopper's most wanted list as the 5th most wanted fugitive. That's right, Xavier Babudar, more commonly known as Chiefsaholic, is still on the run after removing his ankle monitor and missing an arraignment hearing back in March for allegedly robbing a bank in Bixby, Oklahoma back in December of 2022 while on his way to the Chiefs and Texans game. So remember, if you see anyone wearing a wolf mask carrying a briefcase full of cash, do what Joseph Asai should have done in the AFC Championship game and avoid contact. Anyway, speaking of making contact, Patrick Mahomes could be seen hitting an in-park homer, I don't know what that was, at the Big Slick celebrity softball game this past weekend, thanks to some god-awful defense out there. The annual event, though, has become a fan favorite here in KC, with celebrities and athletes all competing in an effort to raise money for Children's Mercy Hospital. And this year's event featured another star-studded lineup, including the usual hometown celebrities like Paul Rudd, Eric Stonestreet, and even Sean Evans of Hot Ones, as well as some Chiefs players like Patrick Mahomes, already said that, Travis Kelce, Creed Humphrey, as well as former punter Dustin Colquitt. And while I believe it was Mahomes' team that brought home the trophy, the winners do not matter, because the Big Slick event raised over $3.5 million for Children's Mercy Hospital, and that is what truly matters. And then, of course, in the process, everyone put on quite the show, featuring Patrick Mahomes' in-park homer, as well as this behind-the-back throw to secure an out on Eric Stonestreet, who was not happy about it one bit, but everyone else was. And Mahomes even alluded to a behind-the-back pass happening in a football game next, which we've all been waiting for quite some time, so please happen. Something else that's been a long time coming is the Chiefs going to the White House to celebrate their Super Bowl win. They were unable to do so after Super Bowl 54 due to COVID, but they were able to do so today to celebrate their Super Bowl 57 victory. You could see Mahomes walking up and almost getting hit by sprinklers, Frank Clark jumping into the bus to greet Carlos Dunlap, Chris Jones looking like he's about to get paid and stay a Chief for life. McCole Hardman came out looking nice. Another wide receiver in Juju Smith-Schuster also could be seen walking around the White House. Eric Bieniemy is here laughing, Harrison Butker cheesing, as well as Travis Kelce decked out in red. Carl Loftus was looking like he was a part of the Secret Service. Justin Reed was about to run for president, and on that note, President Biden came out to congratulate the team and gave a moment of silence in honor of Norma Hunt. Mark Donovan then spoke a moment, followed by Andy Reid, who I believe almost got choked up a couple times and also accidentally called President Biden President Obama, which was pretty funny, but at the same time, it makes sense because of how much they really do look alike. Anyway, after that, Mahomes and Kelce took a photo with Biden, and then Kelce attempted to get a moment on the mic.
So I've been waiting for this.
Sorry, Travis, but Mahomes definitely did the right thing there. And then, I love this one, cornerback Chris Lammons could also be seen out there at the White House with the team, which is pretty cool because, remember, the Chiefs waived him just prior to the AFC Championship game, and the Bengals claimed him off waivers, which prevented the Chiefs from signing him back to their practice squad, essentially blocking the Chiefs from getting him back. A savvy move by the Bengals, considering Lammons probably would have been a practice squad call-up for the AFC Championship game, and therefore, Lammons not only couldn't play in the AFC Championship game, but he remained on the Bengals roster all the way through the Super Bowl until they released him around May 5th of 2023, and I believe he is still a free agent to this day, and with a little bit of legal issues still pending, he's working through the right before the Pro Bowl 2 years ago ordeal with Alvin Kamara. I've talked about it 100 times, but who knows because of that if he will be picked up by another team right now. But what I do know is the Chiefs are a class act for inviting him out to celebrate the Super Bowl victory that he helped them ultimately get to, being one of their best special teams gunners, while the Bengals staff and players watched from their couches. And speaking of couches, we got to talk about Rick James, but not that one, this one, because the Chiefs signed the #1 pass catcher last season who most often exceeded expectation according to Next Gen Stats. Let me explain. Nick, Never Been Shook, recently dropped an article in which he listed the most controversial top 10 ranking of his annual series about pass catchers who most often exceeded expectation. And off the bat, he says he's looking at those who consistently exceeded expectation, proving their reliability even when surrounding circumstances suggest they would not produce. And in order to qualify for this, a pass catcher, running backs not included, had to reach the following benchmarks in the 2022 NFL season: at least 50 targets, at least 50 receptions, and 300 routes run. And on this top 10 list, the #1 pass catcher who most consistently hauled in passes that weren't expected to be completed, just above George Pickens, I might add, was none other than former Giants wide receiver Richie James, who is now signed with the Kansas City Chiefs. He caught 57 passes for 569 yards and 4 touchdowns from Daniel Jones, averaging 13.2 yards per catch. And he's #1 on this list because his catch rate per expected was better than any other receiver who met the criteria. James helped quarterbacks targeting him post a 119.6 passer rating, the third best mark of any pass catcher on this list. And of his 70 targets, only 13 resulted in incompletions. And that's a catch rate benefiting a running back snagging swinging passes, not a receiver running through a defense. And I just found this interesting because not only did the Chiefs snag him for a nice 1-year, $1.2 million deal, but he's coming off of a career year and has also returned over 100 punts and kicks in his NFL career. And this is why Richie James should not be slept on to make this roster. I mean, look at this top 10 list. George Pickens is on there, Mike Williams, Cooper Kupp, T. Higgins, Diggs, Scary Terry, bunch of dogs. Anyway, that's why this list is a bit controversial, because the pass catchers who see the most targets often had more opportunities to catch easier passes at times, basically due to the sheer volume of passes thrown their way. And because of that, I'm going to go ahead and say the Chiefs signed a sneaky one in Richie James. I think Brett Veach and company know what they are doing. Do you agree, or nah, he ain't making the roster? Let me know in the comments down below. And until next time, let's go. Let's freaking go. How about those?